I'm just was kind of playing with some fort building. I have not gotten over my love of making forts. When I was young, we had some woods out back and we'd make forts all the time. And then inside, blankets, boxes. Yes, I still keep boxes just because they would be so fun to make forts with. And I was so excited a few posts ago when our Calvary kids were giving us a tutorial on building a fort outside. That was very cool. And thinking about all these forts has reminded me of forts in my own life, and in fact fortresses that I have built. And this leads me to think of some of them have turned into strongholds, forts within me. And I used to think of those strongholds in terms of being overtly evil things. So, it wasn't something I would do or have in my heart or my soul. And this really has given me a false sense of spiritual health along the way. And I had always been, in my walk as a Christian, have been curious about this stronghold thing. And again, had developed this false sense of security. But in this past winter, I listened to a message on strongholds through Right Now Media. If you have that, you can look it up. It's the pastor's name is Eric Mason, and it's called Breaking Free from Strongholds, and I really thought he does a great job in his presentation. His definition of a stronghold is anything in your life that makes itself better than Jesus, looks more powerful than the cross, and looks more renewing than the resurrection. Wow. Again, a stronghold, as he defines it, is anything in your life that makes itself look better than Jesus, more powerful than the cross, and looks more renewing than the resurrection. And as I say this, has anything popped into your mind that might be a stronghold for you? If it has, take a moment, just pause this video right now, jot it down, because you want to come back to that later. Mason goes on to say a stronghold is a mindset, value system, or thought process that hinders your growth. So this is a health issue. A stronghold is a fortified place, a bastion, and it's opposed to truth. In the introduction to this video, you also saw kind of a snapshot tour of things that are some things that are lovely, I believe, in my life. And they are lovely in their place. However, any one of them can easily become an idol and then become a stronghold in my life and become unhealthy if I begin to place my identity in any of those things or people, if I put my trust in any of those things or people. And a lot of times it's, do I run to them first instead of the Lord, run to that thing or that person first? So any of these can become an idol and then have room to grow deeply into a stronghold in my life. So I'm going to date myself here, but I grew up during a time where there was these movies called Tarzan movies, and they were actually filmed in black and white because guess what? Color wasn't even an option to film in. And I really enjoyed watching those movies. I watched quite a few of them. And over the years after I became a believer, I really began to become surprised at how influencing those movies were, the images from those, particularly as seeing pagan worship displayed in those, and actually stunted my spiritual development. Those images mixed in and skewed what I thought of worship. And it's become a process for me of really looking at idolatry in my life and how it influences, not well, a lot of times, my worship of God. So as I began to look at this, I recognized, first of all, that I had become inoculated to recognizing my own idols. I had kind of developed, again, this false sense of security and really believed I was, more sophisticated and more informed, and I wouldn't have, idols in my life, because I was picturing, these things, these images that I had grown up with, and false. Cindy had and has plenty of idols that she needs to take a good look at. And since becoming a Christ follower, the Holy Spirit has gently been doing his work of sanctification, which is him working in us and growing in our faith. And he's so loving and gracious in this process of this pathway to spiritual health and spiritual healing. He gently is convicting and revealing when I have these idols placed on the shelves of my heart and my soul and my mind. And he works through these with me. And I again falsely jump to, are there any big ones? And just as much a concern are what we tend to think of as the little ones too, that build up on my shelves. And some of these strongholds actually are not as much an image, but even a voice. Voices things that people have said to me, I have heard growing up or whatever, like you are a fill in the blank, or you'll never be a whatever, fill in the blank. So sometimes even these are voices that'll come in. So I'm certainly a work in process, and I'm so grateful that the Lord continues to work with me. But health is not a static thing. If we become stagnant in any area of our health, we will become debilitated, we'll become weak. So we need to be proactive in our health, and this includes our spiritual health. So that's why it's so important for us to be daily going to the Lord. And this is an area of our spiritual life that I would encourage you to take a look at. So as you are looking at your spiritual rhythm of spiritual study, perhaps you would consider bringing strongholds and idols before the Lord. And here's just an idea of how you might start that process. First of all, it would be humbling yourself before our merciful Lord. When we're remembering how gracious he is and merciful and loving he is, it's easier to come into that point of humility before him. And in that place, we ask him to show us where there are any unhealthy, ungodly idols or strongholds. And as he reveals those to us, we can confess those to him as he shows us. And again, from my experience, he's always doing this gently. But we confess then to him that they are there. That makes them more real. It takes them off the shelf. And as we present those to him, we then can confess that and ask him to remove that and forgive us of that. And I would encourage you in that process not to leave it there, but then in its place to set truth where that idol or stronghold had been. And ask him for what that truth is. Search his word for that truth, but put that truth in its place. So it's very less likely then for that to be as tempted to bring that idol or stronghold back into that place. You want that truth to be the placeholder there. And then in that process, give him thanks. Give him thanks for what he has done, for that healing that he has given to you, that freedom, for that truth that he has placed there. And let that and those things be the ones, his truth, to grow deeply into your heart, mind, and soul. As in Colossians 2:7, be rooted and built up in him, strengthened in the faith as you were taught, and overflowing with thankfulness. We've been talking about overflowing. This is a place that you cannot help but overflow in thankfulness when you've gone through this process. So blessings to you now as you go through perhaps this process and you experience God's healing and the freedom that he has for you because of his great love. If you're in a place where you'd like to learn more about God, you'd like to know more about this assurance so that you know that you are secure in him, that you are loved by him, you are forgiven by him, set free by him, welcomed by him, that you are safe in him, you just contact us today, and we would so much enjoy meeting with you about these things. Have a blessed day.